So I will call this meeting to order. We need to consider the minutes, and I will do a vote. I will call your name to vote, just so that we also do a roll call for Joe for the purpose of next month's minutes. So does anybody have any changes or additions to the minutes from our last meeting? If there are no proposed changes, does somebody want to make a motion?
Scott here. I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as posted.
And is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. So I'm going to go around for a vote. Caitlin? I think she's on. Renata?
Yes, I agree.
Ryan? Excellent. Scott?
Agree.
Terry?
Agree.
Tim?
Agree.
Elise?
Agree.
Tom? No. Justin? I don't see Justin or Chris or him. Okay, so I think that's everybody that we have online at this moment. So the minutes are approved. The next thing on our agenda is some follow-up items from our previous meetings. So Sean, you want to give us kind of a follow-up report on those items?
Yeah, there was a question that came up about the new Rotary Plaza / Heritage Trail, and whether commercial activities could go on.
We're
there.
not hearing you.
Oh, really? I am not on.
Actually, I can hear you.
I heard Sean fine.
Yeah, I can hear you, Sean.
Okay. So yeah, the question about commercial activity on the Rotary Plaza, there had been some, it's ODOT rail land, and their initial position was no, they're not able to, but our city attorney has examined our lease, and there's no reason why we can't have commercial activity there and sell alcohol. The Parks Department is working up some parameters, and people will be able to have an application to have commercial activity. Available this summer. Assuming, well, I guess when COVID allows, I should.
There's a problem with the audio. Is everybody experiencing that?
It sounds like someone has their vacuum cleaner on to me, but.
Likewise.
Kate, are you there? I think we lost Kate.
Oh.
Kate? There might be a problem on Kate's end there. Tom, maybe you can step in as vice chair. But that's my follow-up from previous meetings. I don't think there was anything else.
Any questions for Sean on that report? If not, moving on to project.
Hello?
Oh, Kate's back.
Sean?
Yes.
Joe told us before that when we're on Microsoft Teams, people need to turn off their video as well as their sound, and that way when people are talking, unless you have something to say, it makes everything smoother. So please turn off your video as well as your sound unless you have a comment, and then we can raise our hands and that'll hopefully make it better.
That's an excellent point, Elise. We forgot that because we were so enamored with our Zoom meeting. So are there any questions about my update about the Rotary Plaza? Okay. So Kate, are you there?
Yes, I'm back. Thank you.
Great.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
So I
Sorry
can roll
about
right
that.
into project updates.
perfect. And I think you have the, sorry, I was just trying to get up the agenda. So the next thing on our agenda,
Project updates.
yep,
So I won't read everything in the interest of time since we just had a 2-hour workshop meeting, but the key things to update you on is Universal Plaza. We have, you may have noticed that the building is gone, and they're pulling up the foundation, the slab. And the next thing we're going to be doing is planting some grass there to be a lawn. And we are going to be planning some activities. Well, we're still in COVID. You know, we're not really inviting people onto the site, but we want to let people know that this cool project is coming. We want to help play that into our public involvement process, which is not completely nailed down right now, but we know we want it to be an expansive process. Of course, the TCAC will be involved in Parks and Rec Board, but we also want to make it kind of a bigger, get in front of more people in the community to actually design it. But the things we're talking about doing, the kind of temporary uses, remember, we're going to have about a year's worth of temporary uses while we're actually doing this design process. Besides that lawn, we are working with an artist who will be doing kind of a temporary installation that's going to be made out of scaffolding and fabric and light. And this guy's done a lot of stuff around the country. And I think when you see it, it's going to be pretty cool. Next month, I think we'll be able to show you more of what we're planning there. We'll be putting up a kind of a wrap around the fence that's kind of telling people this is the Universal Plaza. Stay tuned for more. There is a website content that will be going live soon, and we're doing things like a haiku contest, and we'll actually be projecting the winners of the haiku contest onto the wall of the B&B. The haiku subject matter would be kind of people's thoughts about this time of COVID, and the hope to get back to be in a position where people can get back together and be together, as well as anything else is on people's mind. So next month, we should have more to share with you, and we'll have more clarity about the public involvement process and how the design process is going to work out of that. But as was mentioned at the last meeting, it's now that the building's gone, you really get a good connection with Fan Oak Creek Park, and that's absolutely going to be one of the most important design elements when we're designing this, is how do we connect to Fan Oak Creek Park and bring the feeling of Fan Oak Creek Park into that plaza. Any questions on the Universal Plaza?
no.
Great. Well, I will skip to Senior Center Affordable Housing. We had an online panel event on June 25th, which some of you attended. And we had the AARP and Northwest Housing Alternatives and the city jointly present that. And I think it was pretty good. We kind of started out talking about the importance of senior housing in general, age-friendly communities, and then we got into the more of the specifics of the actual project. Northwest Housing Alternatives is awaiting on word of their funding application from the Metro Bond that they actually learned recently. It's not going to be, those decisions aren't going to be made until September. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern until then in terms of design. They're not going to progress with design right now until they're assured of the funding. But next Tuesday, we will be going to council with an update. And, you know, there are a lot of questions, some skeptical coming in from the neighborhood that's next door. Mostly based around parking, also based around, you know, the fact that we're going to be cutting down trees, kind of changing the character of that area. And the impacts on the senior center in general. But, you know, we've been answering those questions. We post all the answers to the questions on our Engage site, the City Engage site, so people can kind of track that there. And we're continuing to negotiate the development agreement and the lease. Any questions on the senior center alongside the senior housing project?
And there, it will go before council next Tuesday.
Yes, so next Tuesday, we're providing an update. The mayor may be allowing people to call in and comment, although it's not really a public hearing. So if there are any of you out there who are interested in commenting, I will share the phone number with you. Kate and Fayez have already said that they will be willing to comment, but if anyone else is interested, I can share the call-in number with you.
This is him.
Yes.
I have a question about parking management plan.
Mm-hmm.
How is it going to be enforced? I mean, people will have parked all night and they have to move the car in the morning, or
For the senior housing?
Yeah, it says that parking will be shared with senior housing, but during the day, the residents cannot park in that area. That's what I understood out of that.
Right, so the site plan has managed to find a significant space for a significant number of new parking spaces. Not enough spaces for every unit, granted, but a significant number that, you know, it should minimize the risks of conflicts. There will be parking management on the part of NHA and the senior center. We will not, you know, residents are going to be expected to park in the resident designated spaces, not in the senior center spaces, and vice versa. So, you know, the senior center, once it's back in operation, their peak hour is really lunch. It's only open until 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and doesn't operate on the weekends. So there's, you know, also the expectation that, you know, some residents during the day might still be working and they would be able to park in the evening time, but they would be expected to move. And again, we'll be putting up signage, and there will be enforcement of those regulations about where people are supposed to be parking.
If all the spaces allocated for residents are gone, then new resident with a car will not be admitted. Is that how it's going to work?
Well, it is going to be marketed as a place that, you know, you're not going to necessarily going to have your own parking space. Nice. And this will be aimed at people 62 and older and at very low income. So I think some people are going to see the benefit in not owning a car, because owning a car can get expensive.
Yeah. Okay.
NHA is going to provide things like regular van pools for shopping, for recreational purposes. And being so close to downtown, Fender Creek Trail, and steps away really from a frequent service bus line and hopefully light rail, about a half mile from the light rail station.
Yeah.
That's really going to cut down on the need for every single resident to own a car.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Sean,
Yes.
my understanding from the earlier design that they maximize the number of parking spaces allowed by code. So they already have the max what the code allowed. Is that
Yeah.
so true?
Well, I think there's a realization that the senior center, what the code says is the maximum for the senior center is probably not enough because a lot of people do drive to the senior center. We had a good conversation with the church just yesterday, and I believe we'll be able to keep that shared parking agreement for senior center users to overflow into the church parking lot. So that's good.
Okay.
But yeah, I think there's a realization that the senior center maximum parking according to code is probably too low.
Sean, the representative of Northwest Housing Alternatives during the panel said that NHA is going to be providing an on-site resident services coordinator who would be an employee of NHA. The development agreement and the lease are currently being negotiated. Is there going to be a covenant in either the development agreement or the lease or both that NHA will provide this on-site resident services coordinator?
That's a good question that I'm going to have to look into and get back to you for a follow-up question.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant amenity that they're committing to there, and I'd like to know just how strong is that commitment.
Yeah, I will get back to you on that. That is a big commitment. So if there's no other questions on the senior housing alongside the senior center, I'll just quickly wrap it up with the triangle, New Tigard Triangle. We're wrapping up phase 2. We did have meetings with TriMet and showed them our drawings on 70th Avenue and Elmhurst. And I think it was basically a good meeting with TriMet. They said they would work with us. Still a question of who's gonna pay for the expanded amenities on 70th Avenue, but they were willing to tweak their design of the Elmhurst Street Station to accommodate our desire to get more transit-oriented development there. And Leland is finishing up a couple of their tasks, including on the development assistance program, that we wanted to have some specific criteria by which to, weigh when developers come and ask us for developer assistance. So we should be able to be sharing that at our next meeting. And also, in terms of encouraging more affordable housing, SEPA is taking a run at a project inside the Tigard Triangle Urban Renewal District, right on the outskirts on the other side of 99W, kind of not too far from Fred Meyer's. They're looking at subdividing a piece of land and building about 50 to 60 units there. And the Tigard Triangle, a new Tigard Triangle project, was able to provide some assistance in that pre-development work. And there is a lot of interest right now. I'll say there's been downturn citywide, I'd say, somewhat in terms of development coming in, but still a lot of people interested in the triangle, in particular affordable housing developers. Any questions on that?
Sean, I was just curious to whom the grant applications were submitted for the mixed use path over Highway 217. Did I miss that?
So there is a, we're doing several applications because it's it's a large amount of money. But there's one into ODOT and then another one coming up with Metro. And I think the timeline on that is a few months out, but I'll have to confirm that. So we're waiting. We haven't heard back on the ODOT grant, and the Metro grant is a little ways out, but we're getting ready to apply.
So you think you'll hear about the ODOT grant fairly soon?
I'll have to check on the timeline for that.
That
I haven't been involved in writing that application, but I will get back to you soon. Next meeting or before. I'll send an email out.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Okay. Did we want to do an update on the letter? We're still working on the TCAC letter for Hall Boulevard.
Right.
So should we table that for tonight?
I think so.
Yeah. So we're waiting. Our session today provided some really good input, and we're also trying to coordinate with TCAC as they are also doing a letter. So we will have an update on that probably before the next meeting. So we'll probably update you on via email on the letter for the light rail station at Hall Boulevard. But we do have another letter, which is the letter for in support of the grant. Sean, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so TGM grant, which is the Transportation Growth Management Grant, is a program that's administered by the state, jointly by ODOT and the DLCD, Department of Land Conservation and Development. And they have planning grants that are available, and we haven't applied for one for quite some time. I think the last one was when we were developing the early Tigard Triangle vision. So that was probably 5 or 6 years ago. So this grant application would be to kind of further the work that we're doing on the city center futures, and also incorporate the work that we're doing on Hall Boulevard transit-oriented development and getting ready for that. The grant would be kind of multifaceted, taking a look at Hall Boulevard. That's an ODOT facility. The city is interested in perhaps taking ownership of that, but under certain conditions. And right now, as we know, it's not all that friendly to pedestrians or bikes. And so part of the grant would pay for kind of a transportation grant, looking at ways to make that friendlier. So it's not such a barrier to pedestrians, but becomes more like a seam, especially when it comes to near the light rail station. Right now, it's things were left as they were would be bad, but we obviously want to have some connection, make pedestrians feel safe and welcomed as they cross from commercial over to the station, and new transit-oriented development, we hope. So that's part of the grant. Another big part would be looking at development code changes. The area around the Hall TOD station it's right now zoned industrial. So that wouldn't allow the kind of transit-oriented development we're interested in. So we'd want to start updating that land use code. And also for the downtown code was updated in 2010. I think we've learned quite a few things since then, that how it could work better. It's very good at encouraging well-designed buildings, but it has, it may not be as easy to navigate as, say, the development code in the triangle. And probably looking to increase the maximum density. When we wrote that code, we thought, 50 units per acre, that's very dense. But we're finding that developers, with light rail coming, they're interested in a lot more than that, maybe 80 units in some cases. So in order to increase the density, though, we have to do a traffic study. It's been on our to-do list for a while. It's kind of, expensive and time-consuming to do, but if we get this grant, we would be able to do that necessary step to increase the density. And we take a look at a few other things in the downtown code that might be, holding back development. So yeah, that application is due at the end of July, and we would be finding out, I think, within 2 or 3 months after that. I see Elise has her hand up.
Yeah. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
What was that dollar amount total?
What we're asking for is 225,000.
Okay. This sounds a little more comprehensive at that number.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other, so Sean, what you would like, you had sent out a copy of a letter that you had written. And are you asking for us tonight to either, approve sending this letter on behalf of the TCAC for this grant, to support getting this grant?
Right, asking if anybody had any feedback, and then to authorize you to sign it, and perhaps giving you some leeway to tweak it if you feel it needs tweaking.
So is this something that we should take a vote on, just as point of?
Yeah, I think it's an action item.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there, before we even think about that, is there comments, questions, discussion that we want to have around supporting this grant?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of this is going to be contingent on Southwest Corridor light rail coming into the area.
Yes.
But this grant is separate from that. So the due date for the grant and the application process, with the November election looming, where is that going to coincide? Where are we going to find out if we receive it or not?
Well, that's a very good question. And we had, the team who's writing this application had considered that, what happens if the vote doesn't go our way? We're kind of leaving it flexible enough that we would there's still a lot of work to do. Even if the light rail does not happen because of the vote or is delayed for other reasons, there's still enough, I think we still want to take a look at our density downtown and development code and update that. And, regardless of whether Southwest Corridor comes, Hall Boulevard needs a lot of fixing. So we did consider that possibility. And so the grant would not be beholden to that vote outcome.
When would it be awarded?
When would it be awarded? I believe it's 2 to 3 months after the due date. So that would be October.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
And I think, Tom, you had a question?
Not so much question as just an editing suggestion in the
Yes.
letter. The very last sentence, the one that begins, "We hope that you will see," etc. To my reading, creating should be making.
Okay. Got it.
Sense?
Yep.
I have a question. Why would anybody vote against it? It's a grant coming to us, so why would I vote against it?
It's just that if we're going to make a formal letter of support, it just needs to be approved by the commission.
Okay.
I thought it was a well-crafted letter, Kate, by the way.
Thank you. That was Sean's work. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
I second.
Do we need to do a roll call?
Probably if we're moving.
Doing that.
Yeah.
So I'll call your name, and if you could just let me know. Tom?
Aye.
Elise?
Yes.
Hem?
Approve.
Renata?
Approve.
Ryan?
Aye.
Scott?
Approved.
Fayez?
Approved.
Terry?
Approve.
Tim?
Aye.
Did I see an unknown user. Did I miss anybody?
Yes, Angelina's on the line,
Okay,
and aye for me.
thank you. Okay, I will go ahead. I will make that editing change, Tom, and then Sean, I can sign it and just scan it in and over to you.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Great. All right. Are there any liaison reports?
Elise here. There was no Southwest Corridor meeting this last month, and there will be one coming up next month.
Okay. Any other?
This is Joe. The TCAC meeting last night, they talked about Main Street, Green Street, Phase 2, very briefly, but I'll share the link to that video with everyone.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Also in regard to TCAC, one of the links that Joe shared in the last few days related to a work that's underway currently on a project called Streets for People. It's a plan to make the streets or make Tigard more walkable, more accessible, especially during the pandemic response. And if you have not looked at that, I'd encourage you to go to the link that Joe provided. If you don't still have it in your email inbox, just let me know, and I'd be happy to send it to you. But my reason for raising it is it relates in part to improving access and wayfinding for the Fano Creek Trail, which is a rather significant presence in the downtown urban renewal district. The thing is, to my reading, the map that's included with the information about Streets for People stops right at the edge of the urban renewal district. So it looks like the measures that are being taken are primarily at this point, it looks like what's been done is some, as they term them, temporary pop-up traffic calming measures, some wayfinding signage, some other instructional signs. Four sites, none of them within the urban renewal district. I'm wondering if this is an issue on which some interface with TCAC might be appropriate, and consideration given to seeing if there's application of this Share the Street, Streets for People program within the downtown urban renewal district.
Yeah.
This is Joe again.
Oh, go ahead.
Dave is definitely looking for feedback and looking for recommendations on new areas. So Dave Roth, if anyone needs his email address, I'll send it to you. I'll include it with the link to the video from last night.
Yeah, I'll talk to Dave too. I wasn't, I heard about the program. I wasn't aware that it wasn't showing anything in downtown. So I'll ask him about that. And if he's looking for feedback, then we should give it to him.
I can tell you that in our Johnson Street neighborhood, which is the link between Woodard Park and the path that cuts over from Grant Street to Main Street, it's working.
Oh.
And it's definitely calming the through traffic and the cut through traffic off of Pacific Highway. And I would recommend Summerfield as another great location because of the issues they've had with cut through traffic within their area. So.
Yeah, 2 of the 4 sites that are identified in this announcement are Southwest Grant Avenue and Southwest Johnson Street. Probably both locations near and dear to your heart, Elise.
Yes, true. And it's working. So thank you. I appreciate it.
But I think you make a good point, Tom, is, you know, there have got to be places within the urban renewal district where this would make sense.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at what criteria they were using, and I'll talk to Dave about it.
Great.
I'm meeting with him tomorrow.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Joe, could you perhaps resend that link along with the video you're going to send out?
Will do.
And there's a survey too that you can take for this.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deadline on the survey is August 2nd.
Yep.
Thanks, Joe.
Anything else for liaison reports?
I can jump in, Councilor Goodhouse.
Yeah.
kind of off the topic of the downtown, but more for the city abroad. At the council meeting, with the more of the racial injustice and the topics around that, we had a pretty thorough kind of outline of what we're looking at for kind of forming a citizen committee to work on different racial injustice issues when it comes with safety or the city or hiring practices or different procedures in the police department. And so I think that's available online. If not, there might be something available as far as both what the city's leadership came up with and also kind of what the council discussed. And we're going to be discussing that more next week of putting together a committee that would take a look at different issues, look at either ones that we could work on or ones we can't do as a city, what we would do if we'd recommend those on a higher on up to state or federal level as well. But I want to let everyone know that we're still actively working on that. And there was a pretty robust conversation on Tuesday night, and that's available for people to go back and watch that if they want to watch that conversation. It was a pretty short council meeting, and we spent about 45 minutes on that topic.
And did you say there is, they're looking for resident volunteers to work on that project?
I think we're looking at what that committee would be made up of. I think part of it would be, that's what we're trying to determine. There might be someone from leadership, someone from the police department, someone from the police union, and then there might be some community members of color or maybe that represent people of color. And I think there's different, we're kind of looking at the outline of who would be on that, what community members would be on that. So we're still trying to figure out what that would look like and what the makeup and who we would have on there or invite to apply to be on there.
Oh, okay.
So we're still in that process too, of trying to decide what that would look like and who would be on there and how we would decide who would be on there and what that kind of overall authority and what the focus of that committee would be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other non-agenda items?
Well, just want to remind people that our meeting next month would be on the 19th rather than the 11th as we would expect. And that's just due to the fact that with these online meetings, we only have one phone number available for the public to call in.
And
someone grabbed it before we could, so we're gonna have to move it to the 19th just for this month. I think looking ahead, we've secured that number for the next few months.
Through the end of the year, we're secured.
Great.
Okay, excellent. Any other final comments? Then I will call this.
Kate,
whoops,
sorry.
Yep.
St. Anthony's is still distributing food boxes and dairy boxes to any community members who are in need of food. So if everybody could please share. It was a wonderful federal grant that was received through the Archdiocese. So, and we're good through August to continue distributing.
Oh,
so
good.
Please let people know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of need.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I know for many, this was a long evening, and I thank you so much for participating in this meeting as well as the previous one. And I look forward to talking to you next month on the 19th. We'll all meet again. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.